Welcome, everyone. I'm Tatiana Barros, and I live in Canada. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at this moment. We appreciate everyone's presence at this very special moment of study, sharing, and experiences about Spiritist education. This live stream is organized by Children, Youth, and Family Area of the International Spiritist Council, which has been strengthening the union and unification of the Spiritist movement in favor of Spiritist educational action, connecting hearts for the construction of the new era. And to connect spiritually with this special moment, we invite everyone to join in, listening to the song Bridges of Light, which through its harmony and message will represent our opening prayer.
Little bright suns shining through the night, showing peace, 'cause gratitude unites for knowing well the life that goes beyond the law of love given to everyone. No borders now in our common land, for we are one, a planet hand in hand. Yeah, let us ride. The flag shines on high of purest faith, the peace banner in the sky. We are points of light, constellations, we are bridges of Christ, in dimensions, immortal learning souls that comes and goes. Here and there we spread the glow. Holding hands in this life and one. Every soul so singular. Come and wave the mosaic light. And with Jesus on high. Little bright suns shining through the night, sowing peace, 'cause gratitude unites for knowing well the life that goes beyond the law of love given to everyone. No borders now in our common land, for we are one, a planet hand in hand. Yeah, let us rise, the flag that shines on high of purest faith, the peace banner in the sky. We are points of light, constellations, we are bridges of Christ, in the missions, immortal learning souls that comes and goes. Here and there we spread the glow. Holding hands in this life and one.
Mirella, you muted.
Of course I am. I don't know how to. Okay. Hi everyone. Sorry about that. Thank you for thank you so much for being here today. I'm Mirella Campos, and I'm a volunteer with the International Spiritist Council. And okay. So as the video presented, we are points of that light, constellations, we are bridges of Christ in dimensions, immortal learning souls that comes and goes. Here and there we spread the glow. Then we reflect that we are all points of light, and we are all invited to broaden our paths of connection for the promotion of good and the building of peace in the world. In the Commission of the Children, Youth, and Family area of the ISC, currently composed of 15 countries, has been working the integrated, collaborative, and collective manner to promote relevant initiatives which can now be followed on our newly launched website. Have you ever heard about it? So watch a very short video now, and please save the link and forward it.
There are seeds that change the world, and they are planted in the hearts of children and young people. The Children, Youth, and Family area of this International Spiritist Council is a... There are seeds that change the world, and they are planted in the hearts of children and young people. The Children, Youth, and Family area of this International Spiritist Council is a space dedicated to all sowers of the age of love, grounded in the message of Jesus and the Spiritist teachings. Our website is now live. Find support materials, creative resources, workshops, and live streams in Portuguese, Spanish, and English, now online. Come in, explore, and be part of the movement.
It's such a very special website, so many resources for the Spiritist educator. So if you work with children or youth at your Spiritist center, or if you're interested in this topic, just explore. And so that the objectives of Spiritist educational action to achieve these goals, it is essential that we continuously prepare ourselves for the task. For this reason, one of the actions of CEI-FA ISC corresponds to Seeds of the Future project, aimed at the continuing education of Spiritist educators. Our live stream today will be a roundtable on the topic Influencers for Good, the role of the family and the Spiritist educator with new generations. This live event will take place on 4 languages Portuguese, Italian, English, and Spanish in sequential schedules and will feature the participation of dedicated colleagues who will share their reflections and experiences on the topics. Our live stream in English will feature the presence of 2 special and very experienced friends in Spiritist education work, Jussara Korngold and Claudia Moura. Each speaker will address the topic in 20 minutes, followed by a final Q&A session. Shall we begin?
Yes, so it's time now to get started, and we'd like to welcome our dear sister Jussara Korngold, who will address the topic, the role of the family as a positive influence on new generations. A brief introduction about Jussara. Jussara Korngold is the Secretary General of the International Spiritist Council, the President of the United States Spiritist Federation. She is the founder and president of the Spiritist Group of New York and the Spiritist Alliance for Books. Jussara is fluent in Portuguese, English, French, and Spanish. She is an international speaker, a published author, and a translator. Sarah works for Data Institute Brazil Child Health as its main executive. Dear Jussara, we are very happy to have you here today. Very grateful. Thank you for your time, for your presence here. So now it's time to get started. Feel free to start your presentation.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Hello, Claudia. We are going to be doing this work together, Canada and the US, and so many other friends in Brazil. And we have to say that this is a very well, it's the topic of the moment, right? One way or another, everyone kind of like to be an influencer, but we are here today exactly to show that the word influencer is much broader than we think at first. It's not about just, selling yourself, selling, makeups or clothes or purses, but it's about the influence that each one of us can exert upon each other. And of course, as we are talking about, family, as we are talking about children, youth, but everyone, because there is this question that follows in this age of constant connection, which is very simple in form, but very profound as an implication. Who is influencing who? So when I think, oh, I'm the one that is the influencer, why? Am I sure about that? Am I not receiving influence from others as well? Am I not doing that because of others? So we live in a time that, influence is, in a way, has become very visible, measurable, even marketable, like we were saying before. We are used now to count followers, engagements, analyze the reach. Oh, my post, it went up to the Japan, so to say. But the most influences, the one most decisive in our lives, and the ones that we are really, is the focus of our conversation here today, normally they are not very visible. They are silent, but many times continuous, and many times they are present even before the first word is spoken, the first lesson is taught, the first belief is consciously formed. Is the way that a child is going to observe us, absorb like a sponge everything that we do, imitate our gestures. And in this case, don't think that it's only your child that is going to be doing that. No, the children in the, among adults, they are going to be looking at every one of the adults and see what they're doing and trying to imitate that, their gestures, their words, and sometimes even picking on their emotional climates, their reactions, their values. They see, oh, if someone says a certain phrase, that person reacted this way. So next time I hear that, I'm going to react this way as well. So this is the process where the soul starts learning, not necessarily through instruction. It's not that we are going to sit them there and say, listen, like, little robot. If I give this input, you have to have this input. No, it's more like in a kind of immersion. Because truth be told, many times the way we teach children and young people in general not necessarily reflect how we are acting, how we act ourselves. So we have to start from the point that we are all influencers. Okay, not because we choose to be, but because we live. We cannot exist in a world without relationships. So if I have a relationship with someone, if my friend, my colleague, my partner, my boyfriend, my mother, my father, we have a relationship. So we are going to influence one another. But what kind of influence we are going to be exerting and absorbing is what is very important for us here. Because are we going to choose something light or something more confusion, something that presents coherence, or is going to be contradicted, peace or unrest? The Spirit's book presents one question to us that the Spirits say that the influence of spirits upon us from the invisible realm is much greater than we think. So here we have two aspects. We have, the influence of the invisible world, so to say, but we also have the influence of the visible world. And they are connecting to each other. So we have all those sources of influence, this network that is going to be exchanging information, exchanging emotion, exchanging values. And they are very crucial, especially when we are in the first years of our formation, when it's hard, it's still difficult for us to be sure whether this is right or wrong. Just this week, I had the blessing of hearing in a casual conversation with my son. He said, Mom, I had some friends that their parents were very crazy, very, very negative influences. Thank God I had you and Dad on the other side that could keep my balance. And he made this as a casual comment. And sometimes we are not going to hear that directly from our children, but as we can see, it is happening in there. So it's when we see the process of this influence, like we are saying, becoming an influencer of good, of moral, ethical behaviors. There is going to be education. We remember when Kardec talks about that, when he talks about the education, he's not talking necessarily about the books and how many books are you going to read, but about this moral structure that the Spirit came here to have, to achieve. So education is not an act of filling a void. It's a sacred task of guiding a consciousness. Let's think about that. It's a sacred task of guiding a consciousness. But then comes the question, how do we guide? And many times this is what we do wrong. We think that we can guide just through what we say. But in fact, we guide through what we are. The child not necessarily primarily listens to us with the ears. It's more like they listen with their hearts, with, the energy, the psychosphere that is happening in the environment. So the child is reading the room, like we were saying before. The child is in the room and see how someone says something out, how the person reacts. So they are analyzing the room. They are interpreting the emotional truth in a way. It's very hard for us to lie to a child, because they will say, "Oh, Mom, you're saying yes, but your face means no. This is the face that you do when you say no, when you say, or you say everything is fine, but this is not your face when everything is fine," right? So when we are talking to children about patience, about kindness, about the difficulties of life or of faith and how we go through adversity, we have to speak to them from our hearts. This is how the lesson is going to endure. It's not about just words. Yes, words are going to be important. The way we frame also an instance. Sometimes, there are no words. We see photographs and selfies, and I don't like myself this way. Why? Because you are presenting a certain feature that is something that you want to hide, right? So we have to be very careful and understand that do not be sad if your children have grown already. Mine have. There is always time. You see, we are the byproduct of influences. We go and buy some clothes or listen to some music because everyone is saying that this music are good. So we still have time to influence in a way, or in a good way, the whole world. So the thing is, how we are going to pass the message through if it is not through in ourselves. So when I'm talking about being a good moral influence, shape ethically the humanity, guide them spiritually speaking, how can we do that if not through our daily interactions, with repeated gestures, with small decisions? So the character of people, or of children and youth especially, are going to be forming over time. We know they go to school, they have their friends, they have all that, but very much like my son said, okay, I observed a different world, a world that it was not the world that you and dad lived. And that gave me balance in choosing where to go and not go crazy like the other parents would be going crazy. So they are paying attention. So family, and we are talking, when we talk family here, we are talking not about blood. Okay, we are talking about everyone that has a role before other, especially in the first years of life. It can be a nephew. It can be a friend's son or daughter that you whose house you frequent a lot. So we all have a way of doing that. But as we said at the beginning, we are living in the world that, this has been too much nowadays. And so now there is like a competition, people saying one thing or taking you into a direction because it's going to be serving their own interest. It represents money in their pocket. They couldn't care less whether this is a good thing or not for the one that is going to be believing in that message, consuming that message. And how can we do the opposite? We cannot just be fighting, because the way we fight the negative, it's time that we could use in building the positive. So let's forget about them. Let's do our part. Let's provide something that is different, that shows the other situation. Okay, people are advertising that, but have you truly analyzed it, whether this is going to be good to you or not? What kind of, they are offering you some kind of stimulation, presence, connection, but are you really connected with this person? Do you really know them? Do you really know what is behind them? And this is where we come to a pivotal purpose here in our talk. We all know, are very familiar with the WWJD, right? What would Jesus do? But what we are proposing today for everyone is, instead of WWJD, let's think about WWJP. What would Jesus post? Because without knowing, without realizing, we ourselves can become the reason why so many people or so many children and youth can get in trouble. So in this case, would Jesus be seeking for visibility, or he would be seeking to reach hearts? Would he reach and react impulsively, or would he respond with wisdom? Would he amplify the noise of, the fake news, or would he illuminate with truth? This is something that we have to think about. It may be, is it as simple as that? As simple as that. Pick up a figure, a role model that you may have that exert good influence in the lives of others, of course, and it may not even be Jesus. It may be someone else. It may be, the priest of your church. It can be the pastor of your temple. It can be whoever you choose. But let's think about that. Let's think about the responsibility we have, because our thoughts create, our thoughts shapes our words, and the way we are distributing those words, they are not neutral. We may not be seeing the immediate result of what we are doing now. This is one of the reasons, very serious reasons, that we have so much difficulty nowadays with bullying in school, because there is a post that is going to spread some gossip about friends, and it starts with a very young age. So now let's think. We are spirits in evolution. We may be still young or not so young in the flesh, but as spirits, we are all growing. We are all in this process. And when we come with the task, or as the gospel according to Spiritism says, with the mission of becoming parents, of becoming educators, becoming the ones that are going to influence a group of spirits. Because you see, if you're responsible for a Spiritist education in your Spiritist center, you are in this category. You are one person that is going to be influencing, the children that are there, even if they are not blood related to you. So let's think about that. Let's think that we all bring history, a trajectory. We all have a set of needs and potentials, but we have to conscientiously continue, not in a passive way, but knowing what we are doing and knowing that we were called to this lifetime to become change makers. We are change makers, and we want our children, our youth, to become change makers. It is time for our planet to move up, to go into a different level from what we have been living now. So always remembering that when we are talking about educating here, we are talking about control, but illuminating, very much like Paul of Tarsus would say, you can do everything you want, but is it good for you? Are you sure? So let us guide the spirits to recognize themselves, to go into a process of self-awareness, to take on responsibility, to live in knowledge, to integrate the knowledge, and to shine. There's a story that is about the Chinese bamboo. So it's often many people know the story, but it says that a farmer was planting the seeds of a particular kind of bamboo and waters it, tends to the soil, protects it from the elements, and day passes, weeks pass, months pass, and nothing. There is no visible growth. A year goes by and still nothing. 2 years, nothing. 3 years, 4. Only in the 5th year, he starts wondering, what is going to happen? Am I not going to see this bamboo at all? But the farmer continues to water, to wait, to trust. And suddenly, in a matter of weeks, the bamboo grows not a few inches, but up to 80 feet tall. And the question is inevitable. Did the bamboo grow in those few weeks? Or had it been growing all along? Because during those years of apparent silence, something essential was happening beneath the surface. Roots were forming, deep, strong, expansive roots, capable of sustaining what was to come. So, this is what we have to do. We are here not to see immediate results because it takes a long time. We are examples of that. How long has it take for us to come here today to be in this position of saying, I want to be an influencer of good. I want to be a change maker. I want to work at the side of God, to help divine providence in each way I can. And if there are children and young people that are coming my way, how can I help them? Or even those that are at adult age already, how can I work on them and say, it's never too late, because you are immortal and because you are loved by God and you are a child of God. And as a child of God, it's never too late for us to educate ourselves and to take on this responsibility of passing on, of being the one that is going to be spreading those seeds, knowing that very much like the bamboo, we are not going to be seeing some results immediately, but we go with faith because the vineyard does not belong to us, but it belongs to God. So every time now we are going to select things for us to read or to write, let us think about, what would Jesus post?
Thank you so much, Jussara, for all your beautiful reflections. We'd like to remind everyone that Jussara will return shortly to answer our questions and comments. And now our dear sister Claudia Moura will address the topic, the role of Spiritist educators as influencers for good among new generations. Claudia Moura comes from Spiritist family in Brazil, with roots in Brasília. Claudia began her journey as a junior Spiritist educator at the age of 12 and has worked in Spiritist education ever since. In Canada, she served as coordinator of the National Spiritist Educative Initiative in Brazil and currently lives in the province of Alberta, where she teaches children at the Soul, Seeds of Light Spiritist Center. In addition, Claudia supports the Spiritist movement in Brazil as one of the assistant tutors for the course Inclusion in the Spiritist Center of Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Welcome, Claudia. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you, Tati. Thank you, Mirella. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, CEI, for organizing this wonderful opportunity that we have to connect. And like the beautiful song and the video showed many, many bright little spots connecting all over the globe. So let's be these bright spots right now and engage in this very important conversation about the influence of the internet, the social media in our lives. So our topic as a Spiritist educator is influencers for good, the role of the children and youth Spiritist educators for the new generation. So thank you for inviting me. And when I started thinking about this presentation, the first thing I did, I researched and I had a few ideas. I watched a few movies made for parents, educators, and the public, youth and children public, about how technology is changing the way we behave, the way we are, and our society in a whole. So I thought that was very important to also, like an educator, to study the public that we are talking about, right? So here in this slide, we have Generation Z and Generation Alpha. So the Generation Z, it's the generation between 1996 and 2020. So those are between 16 and 30 years old, plus or minus. And let's see what that public characteristics are. So they are tech native, pragmatic, and socially conscious. They value authenticity, diversity, and work-life balance as the first generation raised entirely in the media digital age. They are highly connected, prioritizing visual, fast-paced communication, and value mental health, and financial security, while often feeling anxious about the future. So, this information I collected from Google. And when we think about this age group, so we still deal with this group in our centers, Spiritist centers. We know they excellent communicators, and they quite ahead of us in many things. And we think, this group of spirits, they incarnated in earth, and they also have a mission. They also have something as a group to do for the good, to influence for good, right? And Generation Alpha, that's the one we most close as our public, as evangelizers, spiritist educators. That will be our youth group. They are born between 2020 and 2025, so they will be any age under 15 years old. So they are actually the first digital native group, so generation. They know technology intensively, like they know that since birth. They highly visual and spatial. They have a lot of, they more familiar with AI, and they very global minded and environmentally conscious and independent learners. So those kids, they absolutely will know way more about tech devices and probes than we are. I often ask my son for help. But we also know that this generation face lots of challenges. So the more time they spend with the tech devices, we also know they're missing a lot of other skills, motor skills or coping mechanisms. So we as Spiritist educators, we have a lot in our role here, our responsibility. So in this slide, we put a few icons just to name a few of those platforms that we see nowadays that are everywhere. So we're talking here about YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, to name a few. And we also belong to those platforms for many reasons: to connect with our family that is in Brazil or far away, to engage, to socialize, to advertise something. We get a lot of information on how to do things, and we will Google how to deal with an electronic device, or even, of course, for our educational field in our schools, our profession. But there is a lot that we're going to find that we question mark if those informations are good, if they have high quality. So I'm going to start to pass my slides here. There you go. So when I thought about this presentation, the first thing that came in mind was this image of a teen, a preteen, scrolling through those social media platforms and struggling, definitely struggling and confused and trying to decide what is important for him and what matters, what does he believe, what is good, what is bad. So let's just take a minute to look and then see how we could help this team. So another thing that I find interesting, when I thought about this image, I couldn't really find an image that was ready to go. I actually use AI assistance to capture the idea of this presentation. So again, is another example of how technology can help us educators to develop our lectures in our class. So, and also involve our public. So we would like to present this in a very reflective way, where we're really putting ourselves in that place of this teen, this youth, and feeling that confusion. So what solutions, what could we come up with to help this teen? So we came up with this other image with the same AI, that Jesus is behind this team and helping with a screen to really separate what is a good information and what is a bad information from the dark web. So can the dark web become a bright web? Can we actually scroll and know what to do and let go of that information that is not influencing us well, and find the influence or the information that is bright? Like Jesus, the moment that he is helping this teen, he is enlightening this teen, and the cell phone became bright. So you can see light coming from that cell phone, because we know we also going to find this information for the good. So here is our invitation. What is our responsibility? What can we do? So in our next slide, we have here a few quotes from this wonderful book that I really hope most of educators are seeking to plan your lecture and to prepare. We use in our Spiritist Center the messages to get us prepared before the prayer. So this book is the Sublime Sementeira in Portuguese. With in English, we would say the Sublime Seed Sower. So we have a few important messages from Dr. Bezerra de Menezes to all the educators. The task of Spiritism, evangelization for children and youth, is of the highest significance among the activities developed by Spiritist institutions in their broad and valuable program, supporting humanity's educational work. Without evangelization, Spiritism, distant from its evangelical character, would lose its mission as a consoler. So this message from Dr. Bezerra de Menezes is so important to put context in our talk today. That so right now we know that this is what we're here for, that we have a serious responsibility to captivate this generation and to produce good information So that cell phone, after Jesus helped the teen, became bright because an educator loaded the good information in that social media platform. So we are invited to be behind the screen producing good information based in Allan Kardec, based in the studies that we do. And we are hoping that the good information will reach children and teens. We have another quote from the same book. This time was an interview with the late Divaldo Franco. It's our duty to contribute to the enlightenment of developing conscience and the character of the new generations. Through the lucid knowledge of Spiritism, fostering peace and righteous conduct within them. So, again, this is a very, very good quote to support what we're presenting. Okay, so this, Jussara, is very interesting because your picture and your speech really matches to what I had planned as well, right? So what would Jesus post? So I thought about the same thing, and I actually found images which definitely is AI produced, that Jesus is using a cell phone. So if that would be possible, then, we know Jesus was very smart, and we know he would actually use that technology to spread even more bright points all across the globe. So it's actually a very smart tool to use the technology to make his message is to spread his message and in a faster pace. And would Jesus be very worried about the likes? What do you guys think? So Jesus wasn't even liked at that time for everybody, right? So Jesus was very careful to present his ideas, his speech, the virtues that he taught, his teachings, and he spoke in parables. So one of the parables that came to mind, it's in the Gospel according to Spiritism, is chapter 17, and is when Jesus talks about how we need to separate the good seed from the bad seed. So Jesus spoke through history, through stories. He spoke through parables to make his language understood at that time. So he really studied the public he had at that time. And it would not be fair if Jesus was speaking in a language that would be too advanced or too techy, or, if he would use the acronyms we use today, if the slang we say, people would not understand, the message would not be reached for that public. So now, coming to the present 2026, how are we really matching what Jesus did? So are we speaking the language that is captivating and attractive, or producing the material that is captivating our generation, the current generation, our public? So I'm pretty sure Jesus would use that tool smartly and always to produce the good, to influence the good. And as Jesus is the model of perfection, our best model, we as educators, Spiritist educators, we have to match that. We are influencers for good. Like Jussara pointed really well, all of us are influencers, and we are influencing in our actions, in the way we speak, what we're posting as well, but the moral, the virtues that we are practicing in our hearts. Okay, so moving forward, we have more quotes to punctuate with good books. What else is essential? It is essential that we embrace with dedication and commitment the task of evangelization among children and youth, souls in great need of love and wisdom, yet receptive and ready for the new teachings. We must do so with the same eagerness with which the farmer raises early to till the soil, preparing the seed bed of hope for abundant harvests. So I thought this was beautiful put. Because we also in our work we talk about the seed, we talk about the soil, we talk about we as sowers, how are we preparing the soil, how are we selecting the good and the bad seed, and even after we did the plant the the planting, when we taking care of that, we still need to take the bad weeds around the good plants that are growing. So we constantly doing that job. That the picture, Jesus was behind the team trying to using a screen, which is peneira in Portuguese, to separate the bad seed and the good seed. So we constantly doing that, especially throughout our lectures, our class, in our work inside of the Spiritist Center. So the other quote is saying, our Spiritists, truly engaged in the ranks of risen faith, must in some way be committed to the task of evangelization, which is undoubtedly the sublime objective of the Spiritist doctrine. Some will participate more directly and with greater effort, while others will serve in different fields. However, all should be oriented towards the same common goal, the redemption of humanity. So, as Jussara put very brightly and amazing, we are committed to this. It's our responsibility to put this information out there. So the algorithm now for that team would actually bring more positive information. So once they search for something that is good, that algorithm will bring more good, more enlightened information from the doctrine of spirits, the spiritism. Okay, so I found another image that I thought was very interesting. This is Jesus calling you, Spiritist educator, youth and children educator. Jesus is calling you to act upon this, to become a good influencer, to practice and act upon by using all his teachings and practicing the morals and the virtues that we all know, and to really engage into activities in your making your class fun, being current, being engaging, getting the children to participate and learn. Also listening to them and getting them to be protagonists and help, right? Getting children to come up with current, present ideas, projects. In our center, we now organizing a retreat, but the organizers are the children that we educate. So we are just supervising, but they are coming up with the ideas. They are coming up with the committee. So who is going to be advertising? Who is going to draw and make our poster? So this is a way to engage our public to produce as well, and to make things exciting for them. So we have this other quote that says, "It is your duty to pass on to future generations with the purity with which you received it, the Spiritist heritage left by the benefactors of humanity and codified by the illustrious Allan Kardec, preparing the new generations who will succeed you in the journey of building the new world." That's really beautiful. So we hope that our children, our youth, they are going to bring and continue this project and engage, as CEI is doing this beautiful, beautiful project and engaging more and more in youth through Instagram. I follow them and I see beautiful work done and engagement from the youth. So let's invite all of us to remember, we came committed to this. When we were in the spiritual world, we were prepared. We have mentors. We have the spiritual world backing us up and enlightening us to go towards this direction of enlightenment and always following Jesus as our model, as the best influencer for good. So my presentation was really catering to the educators. And now I'm going to pass to the committee so we can keep going with the questions.
Well, thank you so much for all these words, and you've been like inspiring our day here by sharing these, inspiring words. Thank you so much, Jussara and Claudia. So we are going to start now the Q&A session. We have selected some questions here. I'm going to start with a question for Jussara, but Claudia, please feel free to join us in this conversation, by sharing your comments and opinions about the topic. So the first question I have here, Jussara, is how should parents act when a child or young person is more influenced by social media than by their family values? So in other words, so we know that the digital environment is very open, and there are many different types of influencers for good and bad decisions, right? So, what do you think? How can we make sure that they're going to use the time wisely in a way that they can be closer to their families and the Spiritist Center and the good influence?
Okay, of course, it's not an easy question, but I don't think it was an easy question in any century, you see, because I think it comes to a point that parents are always complaining that they want their children, their young adults to follow in their footsteps or to follow different ways. And of course, we know that progress has to come. But I think what is very, I think as a parent and as an educator of Spiritist education as well, and I do hope as a person of good sense, okay, common sense, I would say we have to pick our battles. And the battles that I think that are the ones that we have to stick to are the ones that represent the structure of the formation of that being. Okay, you want to watch TV 5 more minutes, watch TV 5 more minutes. I'm not going to stress myself because you know what? I would like to be watching TV 5 more minutes. But you were rude and hurt someone with your comment. You have to realize what you did. Because sometimes what happens is if we are not taught also how people react to comments, to posts, to everything. Until it happens to you, you are going to be really ignorant of the fact. So I think it's up to parents and to educators to always question, if it were happening to you, you would like that I would have this kind of reaction, this kind of, post. Now, tomorrow is Mother Days. Congratulations to you all. And I've been seeing some posts at Instagram that I'll do. At first, I thought they were very funny. Then you start thinking what they are nourishing in the person. And it's something very simple. It's like a mother and her daughter, already, of a sufficient age to buy the mother a mother's gift, going to the shopping, and then the mother said, "Oh, I would like you to buy this for me today as a mother's gift." And the daughter say, "Okay, we'll come back later." Like, meaning that every time that the girl went to the shopping and the girl saw something, "Oh, I want you to buy that for me. Oh, we can buy later. You see, it's like it is teaching you that sometimes we may say a nice kind of revenge, but it's revenge. I mean, the subliminal message that is showing, okay, it will be my time when I will say to you no, and you have to wait. So I think in this sense, I'm going to get all over, right? We have to stick with values. Sometimes the child may even be resistant to religiosity. We are not here, according to my point of view, okay, this is Jussara talking, to make a point and imprint or make a decree that my child has to be a Spiritist because I'm a Spiritist. We may have a lot of resistance in that, but if I stick with the principles, if I say, you can follow whatever religion you want to, as long as you respect your brothers and sisters, as long as compassion, charity is always going to be in your vocabulary, as long as you understand what respect, admiration, and good words, good vocabulary means. So I think we have to stick more with the moral part. Is it easy? No, it's not. I imagine all of us were difficult to our parents as well, not once, many times, and related to so many different things. But the thing that I would say in summary is stick with that is really valuable, and remember that you have to be the model, the one that the child, the young adult are going to be basing their behavior on. It may take a time, it may be difficult years, but they will recognize. And I think in a way as well, especially, feeling even more as, the Mother's Day, no matter what, we love them. And we have to show them there will always be the biggest part of my heart to you, for you to shelter yourself whenever you need. Don't ever doubt that, and keep repeating that, because life is hard for them. It's difficult. It's so many transitions. It's so, so many things happen and influences that they do not know where to go to. And some things that are not good and have just been banalized, like, this is good. You have to do that. Otherwise, you're. And so that's what I would say. The love is always going to be the answer, and keep your battles. And you say some things I can really say okay, but other things I will never say okay, because it's for your own good.
Oh, that's great, Jussara. Thank you so much. Claudia, do you have any comments to add here? I have something to share, but I'd like to hear from you first.
Yeah, thank you, Mirella. Well, of course, I agree with everything Jussara said. And if I could add anything, thanks, Jussara. It was so well said. We have to start with modeling, right? So again, going back to Jesus as our example, we would not catch Jesus doing something that wasn't inappropriate. He would always be modeling the virtues. So we as educators and parents, we want model. And I'm going to talk about what I do for myself and in my family too. I actually had, if you go to the Instagram settings, you can actually now put up a block. So every 10 minutes that you're going to get a reminder. It's been 10 minutes. Or you establish, I can only do for 15 minutes. So after 15 minutes, you're going to get that reminder. Okay, it's blocked, so you can't go anymore. So things like that. Of course, we're talking about rules of what is appropriate. It goes for our children and youth, but it goes for me as well, because we all know we start to getting into those platforms, and there is that virtual universe that you get sucked into. And then I use a lot for my profession per se. So I know that the more I'm looking for articles, or I'm watching a doctor, a physio speech, more it's coming, that algorithm. And when you're like, it's been an hour, right? It's been half an hour. What am I doing? So it's very important that we are aware about that, and we establish the timer, we establish the limits, the rules, especially for young children. So another thing I have been doing recently, I have a 12-year-old, so it's right on that sweet spot of, this is too much. And not saying you can't play video game, but you can play for that amount of time. I have watched some excellent documentaries, and that education, it's the most powerful thing. So when you actually explain through the conversation to guiding, and we actually watched the documentaries together. And after each documentary, we actually had a good conversation, like we have in this roundtable. So, what did you notice? What did you think? And actually, he came up with all the answers. So sometimes we have a lot of rules, and we want to be very, strong about it, but listening to them is such a good skill. It's such a good way to actually enter in that. It's an entrance to that brain. And the moment you realize they understood the reasoning, they understood why. And for my son, because I'm in this area, I talk a lot about the brain. So I say, you see, now the documentary showed inside of your brain. It showed how those information is traveling, what's doing with the back of your brain and the dopamine. And then he's like, oh yes, I get it. So when we actually have this enlightened conversation, we actually can reach them, and they start to realize. So I notice a huge difference, that he will actually drop the cell phone or the screen, with sometimes before I even say something, because he really understands now there is a reason for that.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Just something that I would like to add here is that when we think about, the amount of time they are spending using social media, we think about parental controls and, having some rules on how they should use their devices and all that. And by the way, I do all that too. But listen to you and reflecting about it. So I feel this is important. So mathematically, you have more time, right, available to be with your family and doing other things versus spending time online. So that's great. But I always think about the time when they're with us and the meaning that we put on that moment. It's very important for them because when they do social media, when they go to Instagram and they text and everything, they might get a lot of likes and people sharing their ideas. But how much do they feel about it? How do they feel when they get likes? How do they feel when they get hugs from us, right? When they're spending time together having a dinner. And so it's more like having them realize that it feels good when you're with your family. It feels good when you're heard, when someone is sharing like an opinion, look into your eyes and say, hey, son, daughter, that's what I think. That's what happened with me, with your dad, with our families. That's our values. It's strong. And that's what we believe on, Spiritism and all the principles versus not feeling that truth, when they're just doing the interactions online. So I think having those moments with us, with the family, it's important, but also it's the meaning that we put on those moments that they feel loved, right? Jussara, as you said, they feel like that connection. They feel like, it's worth it. I don't have my cell phone here, but I feel loved. I feel that I'm with Jussara, I'm with my mom, and I feel so loved during this time. So I think that feeling is important, but we need time, right? So and then we have all those rules at the same time so they can be with us.
And Mirella,
And I think,
when
go ahead.
we you talked about like the time, but looking as immortal spirits, it's like a short moment of our sons and daughters' journey that we have the honor to be with them, to be part of this
Yes.
educative process. It's beautiful. I'm getting a little bit of emotional, maybe because it's because of Mother's Day, but it's so
Yes.
beautiful when we think about that, right?
Yeah. It
So we
is,
have,
Tati.
oh,
I
okay,
think you have a
we
question, right? Go ahead, please.
yes,
Yeah.
I have a question for Claudia, and just like the one that we asked Jussara, it's not easy, Claudia. Okay, but the question is, how can a spiritist educator become a meaningful role model for young people in a context of so many digital influences?
Yes, yeah. I would go back to how Jussara started her presentation by first um, being true, being authentic, and really living within you as an educator, living in you the teachings of Jesus. Because when when this is authentic, when you truly love, and I'm gonna get emotional just like Tati, being a spiritist educator, it's something that I cherish so much, so much. So I teach the little ones every Sunday, and I look forward for that moment that I'm going to have a little class and a little participation. It's an hour and a half in that child's life, or the week, I would say the week, that we are talking about Jesus. So I would say it starts with planning. It starts with engaging and also being receptive to the mentors that are giving us intuition to how to move forward. So I'm going to talk about this virtue. I'm going to talk about the chapter of the gospel according to Spiritism. How can I make my class engaging and exciting and really make a difference in that children or youth heart? in only an hour of class? How can this really be meaningful and something they're going to remember throughout their week? Also, how am I connecting with the families of the children I educate? Are we partnering educators and parents to move forward the theme of the class of the week, the virtue of patience, for example? So in our group, we also have the the homework. We don't call homework, what we call the house family activity, where we invite the families to keep talking about that theme, about the virtue of the week. Is it patience? So let's all practice patience in the minimal actions we have in that week. Let's talk about this. Let's have dinner together as a family and talk about the virtual patients. and and then what we notice is actually children are following this really well, and they will catch up the parents saying, oh, mom and dad, we learned with uh, our educator this, and I noticed you weren't patient at this time, right? So we actually can make a beautiful contribution, and that makes me so excited. So I really love with all my heart that 1 hour that I have with that child, and it always starts with me planning and receiving that intuition the spirits, our mentors, are giving to us, making that class so exciting and fun. And I try my best to use less digital things and more activity and running and going outside and feeling. I think what Mirella said is so important, really getting them to practice the feeling. Let's look at the sky. Let's feel the presence of God in this moment. So there are so many things we can do to really effectively become this influencer. And it starts with your planning, your class. The 1 hour you have for the whole week is only 1 hour to interact with the child, your youth group, right? But it really adds, and we have beautiful reports from parents that is working, that they actually mention Jesus during dinner time. And I remember one that she said, we pray before bed, and she talks about you, Claudia. They say, Jesus, and bless the educator that we have in our center. So this is beautiful. We have a beautiful soil, guys. We All we need to do is to prepare the seed.
Exactly, Clara. Beautiful. Jussara, would you like to add anything else?
It's okay.
No, that's fine. Let's go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Claudia, for bringing these ideas about it. So I think it's super important when we are able to connect everything that we know, from spiritism to our daily actions, gestures, and when we talk and everything. Sometimes when we talk, and so we bring the spiritist ideas, even though we don't talk about the last lesson we did at the Spirit Center, we don't talk about Kardec, but just the way that we handle the situation, it's there. So I think it's super important how we can bring all that into actions in the way that we talk, daily situation when someone dies, and you're able to bring everything that you know and you feel about spiritism. They can sense that's very true, and that's very genuine, and it's real. It's in life, so it's not just at the Spiritist Center. That's great. So I have a question for you, Jussara. So the next question here is, let's see. I'm so sorry. So here you go. So even understanding that we're all imperfect spirits, what message would you give to all of us spiritists, whether as parents, educators, or the youth, to help us to be more in tune with the good spirits so we can be good influencers for good?
The question is very good because it starts from the purpose. I mean, showing that we are not perfect ourselves. Okay, so we can only do that much, and but of course we are all trying to become better. And at this point, we already know of some tools that can help us. You know, a good prayer, a good message, good reading, trying to attend to good ambiances where we are not going to be influenced for something that our imperfect spirit is still longs for. Uh, on the other side of all that, the preparation of, always remembering that we are not alone, asking the good spirits to be working through us and to help us in getting the message across. We have to remember that above all, we are educators. We are not there to be babysitters or friends, pals of the children that are there. We will always be amicable, treat them, and roll with them in the floor. And of course, like educators and therapists teaches us as well, we will try to dress in a way that is not too much different from the way they dress themselves, more to get as close to them as we can, right? And so simple clothing, simple words, not trying to pretend to be more than we are. I think that every time we are dealing with other people, we also have to think, no matter how old they are, and we have to remember that it is their time to talk, not ours. Because we have a tendency of, if a child comes to us and says, you don't know how hard it is to be an 8-year-old. You know what? All I do know. I remember when I was 8 and my mother used to, so this is not our time. This is the time to, bite our tongues and listen and give time for the child to talk to you. We do that in our conversations. Okay, we have to pay a lot of attention in that. We manage to make the conversation always about us. This is the time of the children. This is the time, like you said, Claudia, is a precious hour in the week where we have to be role model to them in simplicity, in way we addressing them, in way that we show, listen, you come from different places, but to me you are all the same. This is where we teach equality, we teach fraternity, we teach liberty. It's your time to answer the question now, but the following one, it's for your friend, your colleague to do. So you have liberty up to a point that your friend is next. So I mean, I think we have to like in everything. I now I'm going to talk about me, okay? I remember when I start driving, and my father always drove so well, very very well, and of course I wanted to be his daughter and drive that well, and so I started driving very well, and I remember one day that he came to me remember that if you start thinking too much about yourself, is the day that you're going to be having an accident. And boy, was he right. So when you go to a class, it's not to say, oh, I've been doing Spiritist education for 20 years. I know what I do. No, we don't. We are still learning. Each day is different. Each spiritual environment is different. Each child, we come in a different mood that day, and you yourself. And so to have a list to remind us, connect with the spirits, read a good thing, maintain simplicity, things like that that can help you, the flashcards, use that. But just never take it for granted. Because each day is a blessing, like you said, Claudia. Each hour that we can spend with them and say, and one day know that made a difference in their lives.
Thank you, Jussara. We still have time for one more question. Now for Claudia. In your presentation, you talked about how we can use technology and social media to promote Jesus' teachings and positive messages. But we, as Spiritist educators, most of us are part of a generation that we still struggle using social media and technology. On the other hand, we have youth that is mastering the use of this. What would you say, Claudia, for all the Spiritist centers that at this moment are struggling in promoting Spiritism using technology, that maybe have a youth group next to them? What do you say to them?
Yeah, that is a fabulous question. Thank you. Yeah, so when I was looking at the generations, we most of us now, in that board of directors or educators, we other from the boomers, the generation X and Y, and some of us are the generation Z too, if about 30s. So I'm gonna tell you, I struggle. And the thing is, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop because let's talk about how many models of phones are there. So you just get to know one phone, and then next year is a different phone, and it's already better and it's already faster, and you're like, I just got to understand this one. Right? So for us, I think we can learn, but it's going to take way more time for us, to prepare material. I struggle too. And for me, this is a very interesting topic because I am in that generation where I still want to be old school too. So I remember that I showed the book, but my screen was not clear. So I still use, the good book and the messages to prepare my classes because that is timeless. It's never going to end what Kardec and all the beautiful spirits wrote for us. But the thing is, if you notice, we really have to understand that even in school right now, it's changing. There is a shift, and we have to accept that. So now I'm coming to accept that, my child really doesn't use as many textbooks as I did, and everything is faster and is digital. So we actually have this calling and the commitment to enter the digital information as well, and actually start to upload the good information in the books into the digital universe. We crossing those generations, and nothing better than get their help and get the youth to be productive and help us. So I think it's a beautiful partnership, and they're gonna think differently. So I was I did watch two documentaries that I very highly recommend. Is Childhood 2.0 and Outscreened, and they Netflix. They also translated into to Portuguese. You can find in many different languages those documentaries, and you know you get to understand so many things behind those algorithms, right? And I don't understand AI myself, and I don't use that much, but I know the next generations are using more. So there is a good about any different tool, and we have to partner with people who understand and use that information, because remember, if we're not uploading our good book textbooks with the Spiritism doctrine to the digital world, we are going to see less of those lights inside of the cell phone. So it is a commitment. It is, I think, a very important time that it's necessary that all the Spiritist centers start to develop this type of good information to influence for good. So other deciding to have an Instagram page or a Facebook page and engage the youth, because they want that. They definitely want that. And they are going to start using this to tell their friends, right? In their school. And then one influences the other and the other one influences the other, right? So this is how I can answer, but I'm sure all of you guys have more things to add.
Jussara, do you have anything to add here?
No, I think it's Claudia covered it all.
Yes, I think so. Everything about technology. I just think, Claudia, just one more way on how we can share ideas. So we can write, we can bring posters, maquettes, and all that. But and also we can use technology. So it's just one more way on how we can share, the lesson and the ideas. So it shouldn't be a problem. But I think the more we engage them to create posts, and be engaged during the lesson, maybe playing the slides. So I think it's helpful. So they get encouraged, to do more and be more engaged in the class. So yeah, that's
I
great.
think one last thing that I'm just thinking now, it's also we need to remember the age appropriateness, right? Like what is appropriate? Because I'm in level one, right? So I'm not going to bring the world for the fives, the 4 year olds, but the youth educator, it's more into that, right? So it's very important for us to also know there is very good research. So we should follow science on that. So specialists are saying that social media is absolutely not appropriate for anybody below 16. So my son is 12. He has no reach into social media platforms. Um, YouTube videos the school uses as well, but no Instagram page, no Facebook page, because he's only 12. So it's important that we follow the guidelines
Yep.
because this was well researched. So we're not really using, if we develop a project in our Spiritist Center, we have to use the public that is using the platform, but with guidelines and being appropriate.
I
Exactly.
agree with you,
And
Claudia.
that's such an important topic, and we could spend the whole time, the whole day talking about it. But unfortunately, we are at the end of our live stream. I'd like to say how grateful we are for you, Claudia, and you, Jussara, for your time to study the topic, to be here with us, and to promote the Spiritist education. Our hearts are overflowing with joy and gratitude. And although we are at the end of our live stream, this is not an end. We will remain connected like bridges of light, continuously investing in the great and beautiful sowing of the age of love, just like Bezerra de Menezes tells us. So at this moment, we invite our dear Mirella to offer the closing prayer.
Okay, so I'd like to invite everyone for the final prayer now. Let's close our eyes, open our hearts. Let's be connected with Jesus and all the good spirits, May, Bezerra de Menezes. Let's be thankful for everything that we have, for this moment of union among workers, for this moment of connection with mothers, fathers, spiritist educators. Let's thank God for this opportunity with a world with so many distractions. So we are here connected with the above to listen to these words brought by Claudia, by Jussara, that really touched our hearts and made us reflect about the educators that we are now, the parents that we can become, and the spirits that we're building towards our evolution, our spiritual evolution. So we thank God for this opportunity again. And may all the love, all the good thoughts that we share today, may all this light be irradiated to our family members, to the spiritist centers that we are part of, to the good spirits who are connected with us, so we can strengthen these bonds of commitment, of respect, of friendship that we have, so we can be stronger in our daily tasks, knowing that we're not alone, that we're side by side with all good friends that we have, our families, our spiritist friends, and all the good spirits. So may we find the strength to move forward and uh, and bring all these words to our daily lives. Thank you, Jesus, for being this role model for all the humanity. And may your light be with us today and always. So be it.